Before the video begins, take a moment to review the video lesson's expectations. Happy learning! Hola! Welcome back to another grammar video. Today we're talking about indirect object pronouns. So what are indirect object pronouns? Well, first of all, indirect objects are nouns that answer the question to whom or for whom about the verb. Indirect object pronouns take the place of indirect object nouns. So if we look at our examples, we have Rosa gives a ticket to Esmeralda. Esmeralda, in this case, is our indirect object. To who does Rosa give a ticket? She gives a ticket to Esmeralda. In Spanish, that would be Rosa da un boleto a Esmeralda. So the second sentence you see is when the indirect object pronouns are taking the place of the indirect object nouns. In the English example, we have Rosa gives her a ticket. Her is replacing Esmeralda. It still answers the question, to whom does Rosa give a ticket? To her. In Spanish, that would be Rosa le da un boleto. Le is replacing Esmeralda. So in Spanish, indirect object pronouns are used to accompany or replace indirect object nouns. The indirect object pronouns me, te, nos, and os are the same as the direct object pronouns. Only the él, ella, usted and ellos, ellas, ustedes forms are different. For él, ella, usted, we have le instead of lo or la. So le would be both masculine and feminine. And then for ellos, ellas, ustedes, we have les instead of los or las. So just like les is both masculine and feminine. In Spanish, you must use the indirect object pronoun to accompany the noun it modifies or to replace the noun. The pronoun appears before the conjugated verbs. Let's look at some examples. So our first one we have, Mom gives Jose and Ana the money. In Spanish, that would be Mamá les da el dinero a Jose y Ana. So in this first sentence, we see that the indirect object pronoun is accompanying the noun. Okay? We have both les and Jose y Ana in the sentence. In our second sentence, we're going to see the indirect object pronoun replace the noun. So our second sentence in English is Mom gives them the money. In Spanish, that would be Mamá les da el dinero. So we've taken out a Jose y Ana because now the indirect object pronoun is replacing the noun. So now we're going to talk about how infinitives work with our indirect object pronouns. Remember, an infinitive is the most basic form of a verb. It's when it doesn't have a subject and it doesn't have a tense. In Spanish, our infinitives end in AR, ER, and IR. When an infinitive follows the conjugated verb, the indirect object pronoun can be placed before the conjugated verb or attached to the infinitive. So our initial sentence is, I'm going to sell Sarah my car. In Spanish, we have that as, le voy a vender mi coche a Sara. We see in the Spanish version that the indirect object pronoun is le and it is accompanying Sarah. Our conjugated verb is voy and our infinitive is vender, meaning to sell. We know that le is going to replace Sarah because we see le accompanying Sarah in our initial sentence. So now let's try replacing Sarah with le in order to say, I'm going to sell her my car. Go ahead and pause the video and try this first example, putting the indirect object pronoun before the conjugated verb. If we put the indirect object pronoun before the conjugated verb, it will look like this. Le voy a vender mi coche. Now let's try attaching it to the infinitive. Go ahead and pause the video and attempt this example by attaching the indirect object pronoun to the infinitive. So your sentence for this one should read, Voy a venderle mi coche. We see that the indirect object pronoun is attached directly to the infinitive, our infinitive being vender. So as we can see, indirect object pronouns work very similarly to direct object pronouns. There's just the difference of what constitutes an indirect object pronoun versus a direct object pronoun, and also some of the spellings. Okay, that is the end of my video. Go ahead and rewind and rewatch any parts of the video that you need to. Adios!